Hey everyone, Once Bitten here. So we go to game 2 of BattleCry 2017. My beast herds facing an Ogre Khans army. So I think the Ogre book is arguably the best book out there right now, and if not, it's certainly in the top few. But the one advantage I have is I play against ogres more than any other army, and I play against probably, well, certainly one of the best players in the country right now. So I get my butt kicked by Ogre Khans all the time. So when I play anybody else with ogres, I'm like, okay, I'm not really worried about. You can't get me worse than what I'm used to. So that's my thinking going into this game. This is a refused flank, so we're doing this diagonal deployment, and it's capture the flags. In this tournament, because we're doing right out of the book scoring, the scenario objectives are pretty huge. So in capture the flags, you nominate 3 scoring units of your opponent, and you want to get the points for those units. And if you get more than your opponent gets of yours, then you win the scenario. So he has 2 units of 3 tribesmen, so I picked both of those. Then the choice is, do I want his unit of 11 tribesmen or do I want his 6 mercenary veterans? I chose his mercenary veterans because it was just less wounds to take. I know those guys are tough as nails. Anyway, that's why I chose them. He chose my 2 20-man Wildhorn units, and then I don't remember. He either chose, it had to be my Minotaurs or my Longhorns, and I just don't remember which one it was. And anyway, you'll see how that works out. So, I think a tactic in going after these scenarios is you just hide. You hide your units, don't let them participate in the game, and just be assured of the scenario objectives. And I think that's the real power that beast herds have if they take 10-man Wildhorn units, because they're so cheap, you can hide them, you don't necessarily need them in the game, and that puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. He has a lot of ground to make up. I was worried my opponent was going to do that with this 2 units of 3 tribesmen. They're great. They're pretty good redirectors, but if you're not going to use them for redirectors, you could just hide them. And I wasn't ambushing anything this game because I wanted to try something different that I've never tried before. And I was actually kind of worried about that. Like, I'm going to have to really have to hunt down these guys. Anyway, so he deployed first. He's got 3 tribesmen, a Qenghet, then his 11 tribesmen, and his general. He's only got 1 character in this build, and with the Hellfist, Hellfist, Crown of Scorn, this guy's carrying both, you can get away with that. It's basically army-wide BSB, which is pretty OP, pretty powerful anyway. And his general's really just, they're always going to be killy, but he's really tanky. And so he's got decent, he's got a scroll, and it's hard to kill this guy. Anyway, on the hill, he's got a thunder cannon and a scratapult in reverse order, 2 units of 4 bombardiers, and then he's got a unit of 3 tribesmen behind. When he deployed like that, that's when I was thinking, like, I don't think he's going to use this unit to redirect. He's kind of hiding behind his lines. But if you're going to hide behind your lines, hell, go in the back corner and just really screw with me. Then over here, he's got on the far left his Frost Mammoth and 6 mercenary veterans. They have Lethal Strike, Thunderous Charge, and the Stalker Standard. And that's a build that, for the most part, I'm used to going against. They're far-reaching with Swift Stride, and when they hit really, really hard. So in response to it, I have on the far left a unit of dogs. I think this is after Vanguard, by the way. I've got a Razortusk Chariot, and then my Gortach is over here. His job is just to keep those mercenary veterans at bay. Mercenary veterans, I think, beat a Gortach, but if I can maintain a threat with that Razortusk Chariot and the Gortach, if I get the charge on him, I think I win that. So then what I'm trying is I'm putting both my units of Wildhorns in a 10-by-2 formation in front of my lines. And my thinking there is just to have some shooting up there, just peel some wounds off, and then if he charges me with a big unit, just take the charge, let him overrun, and then countercharge with something else. So I've got my Longhorns on the hill, my first unit of Wildhorns in front of them, and then my second unit of Wildhorns, my Minotaurs behind them, and then Razortusk Chariot, Gortach, and another unit of Vanguarding dogs. So, there's something I'm doing something intuitive with this, but I haven't tried it yet. So, I'm a little bit nervous about how my plan's going to work. So ogres go first. He moves up, as you can see. His Qingheter's up there. It's looking like he's going to tie up my Wildhorns. My choice there is to charge him. That way I can line up to him the way I want to line up, and maybe just kind of get out of my way. The problem with that is I risk getting away from my general MBSB, which I think I would still be in range for. But I charge, and then it's just, this guy's unbreakable. And he only has 4 wounds, but, I'm wounded on 6s, and, he's not going anywhere. He's doing a fair amount of damage. Another option is just to shoot at him. He charges me, I shoot at him again. And if in all that I do a wound or 2, then it's a lot more manageable in combat just to sneak a couple wounds through. His tribesmen are moving up a little bit in the middle, and he's kind of holding back on the left a little bit. And I'm very, very excited. Here, I'll show another picture. I'm very excited to see that because, anytime I can pick on part of an army and not worry about the other part, I'm happy about that. Now, he's not holding back that much, but, he's holding back enough over there on the left that my thinking is, I've got a Gortach that's going to be able to swing around on the right-hand side pretty easily. I've got, get my Wildhorns out of the way, and I've got minnows and my Wildhorns and my characters. I can beat up on that Tribesman unit, and he better hope that he brings everything to bear before I can throw all that stuff at his one main unit. We go to Beast Herds turn 1. Yeah, I just step up with the Wildhorns. I'm going to shoot at that Qingheter. The other Wildhorns shuffle a little bit. They're just going to shoot at his main unit. I don't expect to do much, but I don't care. And then I shuffle my Longhorns and my Minotaurs a little bit so that if he's not going to be able to charge the Minotaurs, and if he charges my Wildhorns, I can stick. He'll overrun into my Longhorns, and then I might be able to countercharge with the Minotaurs. You'll see how that works out in just a little bit. Meanwhile, on the left, you can see that I'm just kind of shuffling those the Chariot and the Gortach around. I just want to pose a threat to those units on the far left. I'd really like him just to, attempt a really long charge and probably fail it, and or just slow down over on that side. So we go to shooting, and my guys do 2 wounds to this thing. I mean, what I have going for me is I have 40 shots, which is just a lot. But I'm hitting on, I don't know, 5s and 6s, and I'm wounding on 6s. But you throw enough at it to go through. Now I'm pretty confident about this. I have a stand and shoot against him, and then we get into combat. I think I get another couple wounds without it interrupting my game plan too much. So we go to Ogre Khans turn 2. He charges the Qingheter into those Wildhorns, and he had a choice to make. I mean, where do you put the guy? And he put him on the far right so that my Gortach up there couldn't see him, because if he goes on almost anywhere else and he doesn't break me, and I am going to be steadfast 9 rerollable, or 8 rerollable anyway with fear, there's a decent chance of me sticking, and if I stick, then the Gortach countercharges. Also, where he is now, if he does break me, he gets a free charge into the flank of the Minotaurs, which is a lot better than if he starts in the other position and goes into the front of the Minotaurs. Anyways, Tribesmen charge my my Wildhorns. I do a stand and shoot, do nothing to. I think with all shooting, I may have done 1 wound to that unit. I fully expect to get crushed here. I hope I can get away, but it's actually not a big deal. If I get away, then I'm hiding behind my lines, and this is one of the scenario objective units. But if he catches me, he catches me. If you look on the very top right, he moved his Tribesmen up out of line of sight of my Gortach. So, again, that's not a huge deal. It's just, I just need to make sure I get more scoring units than he gets of mine. He allows me to get the Blooded Horn Totem up on my magic phase, by the way, because he just wasn't that worried about it. But that does give me 4 more attacks, which is nice. There's this. Yeah, he's gonna crush them. And so one thing he's looking at here is if he beats this unit and overruns, he's going to hit my Longhorns, and then my Minotaurs can't countercharge because my Wildhorns are in the way. The way it works out, though, so he charges this guy in. Remember, he was on my far right. Look at my guys. I think he did 1 wound to me. It was just a really epic fail. I don't think I did any wounds to him. If I did one. Anyway, I didn't kill him. So after combat, I passed my steadfast. Then I passed my reform, and then I just threw my guys on the other side of them, completely opening up the Minotaurs. So happy enough with how that worked out. So then he crushes that unit. He overruns, as you can see, which normally, I don't know. If it's just one-on-one, I don't know how I feel about this, because his general is certainly something that's going to be hard to kill in and of himself. I probably just go after rank and file. But even if I do a bunch of wounds, he's going to get all his attacks, and it's going to get real bloody, and I think he actually wins that grind. Now, my unit does have Clouded Eye up. So they are distracting, but I have another magic phase before, so that goes away, I guess. So we go to Beast Herds turn 2, and because I was able to reform those Wildhorns, the Minotaurs get an easy flank charge in his unit, and I'm thinking that's the game right there. I mean, I'm gonna crush this unit and probably not take too many wounds in return. If you look at the top middle, my Gortach is floating around. I just like him back there. I don't need him with the Tribesmen. He's just out there posing threats to a bunch of stuff. On the left, my Gortach charges his Bombardiers. Between other shooting and stand and shoot and everything else, he's done 2 wounds to me, but I think I'll be okay. And my dogs on the far left are redirecting his Frost Mammoth and his mercenary veterans. And the challenge I have there is if the Frost Mammoth charges them, I have to take a terror test, and their leadership isn't that great. So I don't know. To be honest, I'm not that worried about the Frost Mammoth and my Gortach. I am worried about the mercenary veterans. But if my dogs fail a terror test to the Frost Mammoth, then the mercenaries can probably countercharge, and that might be scary if I don't overrun far enough with my Gortach. So here's this. Oh yeah, and I threw a Razortusk Chariot in there just to be sure. There's that. Not worried about this combat at all. We go to combat. He allows me again to have the Blooded Horn Totem off because it only affects 4 models, but with re-rolling to hit, what is that? 3 attacks each on the front rank. So yeah, between everything, I sneak a couple 6s through and kill that thing. So that was nice. We go to this combat, and impact hits and his general do a fair number of wounds to my Longhorns. But oh my gosh, I mean, oh, you can imagine what the Minotaurs did, and their impact hits. I think it was between my general and impact hits. I actually had one file of them not even able to attack, but it doesn't matter. We crushed them. We ran them down. Minotaurs got a free charge into a unit of Bombardiers. You can see my Gortach killed his unit. I don't think I got it. You can't really see the unit. It got away from me, but it's sitting right in front of his 3-man Tribesman unit. But that certainly took me out of line of sight and charge range of the mercenary veterans, so now whatever happens on the left, I'm not too worried about it. So we go to Ogre Khans turn 3, and my opponent just does not have a lot of good choices. He charges his mercenary veterans into my dogs. If he does not kill them and just breaks them, he's going to be able to pivot towards my line and be up in my business, and I'm not going to be in a great position to countercharge him. If he kills him to a dog, he can just reform where he is or overrun, and either way it buys me quite a bit of time. His one guy that survived my Gortach rallied, again, right in front of his Tribesman unit, and his War Machines are just trying to get out of line of sight of my other units. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, so after combat, my Minotaurs easily destroy the Bombardiers they ran into. They had to overrun, and they overran into a fleeing unit because something happened there. He had a fleeing unit they overran into because they hit the fleeing unit and then were able to pass. If you overrun, which is a charge, into a fleeing unit, you can take a leadership test and reform. So somehow, some way, that was going on there. I don't remember what it was. That's the danger of waiting a week before doing this. So we go to Beast Herds turn 3. I just form up a battle line. I think I charged some stuff, and he flees with his mercenary veterans and his mammoth. So really, he's just trying to conserve points. To be honest, I'm not sure how many points I need. It's going to be a pretty major victory because he just hasn't been able to get any points off me. I mean, my points are in minnows, longhorns, characters, and 2 Gortach, and they're all on the table. The Gortach on the left, top left, makes a charge. I'm not seeing one of his war machines. Yeah. Anyway, there's them fleeing. Oh, here we go. So I charged one, he either fled or failed a terror test, and I redirected into his thunder cannon. I'm going to make short work of it, and if I overrun into that unit of tribesmen, I'm going to be able to get those points in reform. This is on the very top right. Again, trying to get the scenario objectives. These are 2 units that are kind of important, so there's no way I want to charge them, so I'm just moving up, shooting at him. If he ever charges me, I'll do a stand and shoot, and then I hope I just win the grind. You never know what could happen. If I don't roll 5s to wound, he could win combat, and even if I'm steadfast, I can easily fail that. So over here, I kill the cannon, I overrun, I do not hit the tribesman, but it doesn't matter. Go to Ogre Khans turn 4, he rallies a tribesman. He's still taking his, I believe his Scratapult, if I can say that correctly, and still just trying to hide from my Gortach. He rallies both of his troops at the bottom. Between shooting and stand and shoot, I kill one of these guys. He makes it into combat. Who knows how that goes. After combat, forgot who won or lost, doesn't matter. We all stick, and I reform, so I'm pretty confident how that's going to end. And then the next turn, I countercharge with the Razortusk Chariot, and yeah, easily got that. Gortach just chases these guys off the board. He's off the board. And I forgot to take a picture of it. Basically, my minnows charged his Frost Mammoth. Where I lined up, if I lined up one way, then if I killed him, I would overrun straight. And if I didn't kill him but broke him in combat, I would get into the flank of his mercenary veterans. I thought I was more likely to break him in combat than kill him, so I did that, and I killed him and ran straight. So I didn't get the point for the mercenary veterans, but it really doesn't matter. I really just need to make sure they didn't countercharge me. That's what I was worried about. So then we go to his turn, or really we don't go to his turn because he just kind of looked at me. He's like, "Look, I've got my mercenary veterans. It does in a Scratapult that's currently fleeing." It was like, I basically have full points no matter what happens. I don't need the mercenary veterans to get full points. I've got the scenario objectives, so it's a 20-0 for me, and there's really no reason to go on. And I totally agreed. There's no reason to belabor the point. So we just called it right there. In hindsight, there's a couple things I would point out. One, I appreciate the tactic of wanting to envelop an army, but I think the real value in the Frost Mammoth is the synergy it provides. It's not that its value as a monster, it's its value of having ogres strike before their opponents. I don't like that for the army because I think it negates an inherent weakness of their army, but nevertheless it's there right now. So I really think the better thing to do is to have your tribesmen and your mercenary veterans, the mercenary veterans circled on the far left, put them closer together in the middle, but just make sure that they're positioned such that if one gets charged and stick, the other can countercharge, and put the Frost Mammoth actually behind them. Even if you leave a gap to where if it wants, it can charge between them. You don't want my units charging the Frost Mammoth. You want it there close enough so that if I do get in combat, ogres swing first. So I think spreading out the way you did with the bombardiers in the middle is a mistake. I think the bombardiers need to be in your flank shooting and put your combat units closer together, especially with the Frost Mammoth, because it has an aura effect and a huge one. The other thing that I think is a risk I took that probably my opponent could have taken better advantage of. If you look on the right, when he charged his Qenghet into my guys, he put him on the far right. I put a red circle on the left where he could have gone. Now, if he goes there, I mean, hindsight's 20/20. If he goes there and he breaks my unit, he gets a frontal charge into my Minotaurs and just gets baked. And if I stick, then he gets countercharged by my Gortach and gets baked. But in either scenario, it allows his tribesmen to overrun into my Longhorns and get a free round of combat. And I don't think he breaks me because I'm stubborn, but I think he just does a lot of damage. And on the following turn, he has a real good chance of killing everything, that whole unit. And if nothing else, he certainly doesn't get countercharged in the flank by minnows and loses the game right there. So I kind of think I think he needed his 3-man tribesman unit up closer, available to provide redirection. He doesn't have anything to redirect my really scary units, and I think he puts his Kin Eater on the left, and my whole plan kind of shoots itself in the foot. So, like I said, I was trying something new there, and I'm not sure that I played it the best way possible. And I know that's a difficult decision to make for my opponent, and I think it probably wasn't intuitive that I was going to, reform my Wildhorns and get them completely out of the way of my Minotaurs. But anyway, just something to think about. That's the game. Hope you enjoyed it.